Good morning. It's the 26th day of March 2025, and I heartily welcome you to the continuation of your current affairs program, TMI, coming to you live from our Lagos Network studios on the ITV network. I'm Joshua Okata. Today on the show, our focus is on the move by some PDP members headed by the National Secretary in the person of Samuel Anyanwu, who is an ally to the FCT Minister Wike, whose move is out to woo some disgruntled or aggrieved members within the PDP bigwigs to be able to get them back to the party and, of course, to build and make the party stronger for the 2027 election. Now the question is, how possible is such move, considering the fact that there is already on the way a coalition within the party? Is it entirely true that Anyanwu is unaware of a coalition within the party? These and more are some of the questions that would form our roundtable discourse on the show this morning. And I'm being joined by my co-anchor, Charity. Good morning, Charity.
Good morning, Joshua.
Good to see you.
Same here.
And of course, I have right here in my immediate right our guest in the person of Mr. Jide Ologun. He is a legal practitioner. Good morning, Mr. Jide, and thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
All right, let's set the ball rolling. So, Mr. Jide, my question to you is this. It's no longer news that a coalition is being formed, by some party bigwigs from different positions considering party affiliation. I'm talking about Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and of course Malam Nasser El-Rufai of the SDP. But then, how were you greeted with the news that the National Secretary, the reinstated National Secretary, I'm talking about Samuel Anyanwu, has claimed that he's unaware of a coalition within the party?
Thank you very much. And I think Samuel Anyanwu is correct. PDP is a party. Atiku is one of the big wigs in PDP, even though he's seeking to align with other political stakeholders in driving his ambition. And Nasir El-Rufai also is on that journey, and that doesn't make APC going into coalition with any party. So at this stage, it's a function of some members, for reasons best known to them, going to look out for greener pasture to field their political ambition. So what Anyanwu is trying to do now is to say, let's reconsolidate PDP to remain a strong opposition party. And this is not limited to PDP, even in APC. Recently, when they had their meeting, one of the top issues was this issue of going out there to reconcile with aggrieved members to make the party stronger. So by and large, what Anyanwu is saying is that PDP is not into coalition. In fact, he is calling that people should come into PDP on the claim that the internal crisis rocking the party had been resolved. And to what extent, I do not know, because a Supreme Court decision came out recently by virtue of which he's claiming to now be the authentic secretary, because the situation was that the Court of Appeal told the court that, was told that you don't have the power to delve into the internal crisis of the party. So because there had been this running battle between Okoye and Anyanwu, and as we speak right now, based on that pronouncement, he is claiming that he's the authentic secretary, but we have not come to a final position on that internal issue, because he's also been asked to produce the enrolled order of the Supreme Court backing that up. So by and large, I believe that right now, those who are going on coalition trip are going there on excursion, and I'm not even sure Atiku and Obi have declared which party they are joining, even though El-Rufai has insinuated that he's joining the SDP, and SDP is saying that they don't want disgruntled coalition. So it's a slippery ground right now for politicians, but for parties, the parties are standing.
Well, just as you alluded to, the parties are standing, but it is not without the fact that a coalition attempt is being formed, because we have seen in viral pictures or videos, as it were, where these three big party stalwarts have seen, in meetings. But the fact remains that some persons are of the opinion that why is Anyanwu coming out to, galvanize support, as it were, among its party members to come together before now? Even if this is geared towards 2027, he should have done that before now. But is he waiting until the news broke out that a coalition of an attempt is being formed before he could now come out to galvanize support? Is he trying to stop the split of votes, as it were, that we saw in 2023?
In management, we talk about strategy and default. Strategy means you have a long-term plan for success. Default means you allow things to jump on you and you live by the day. I think he's just been strategic by monitoring the movement. And don't forget, when we start talking about coalition, you cannot underestimate the power of coalition. In 2013, even though PDP has declared that the party was willing to rule Nigeria for 16 years, APC started coming together. In fact, PDP had a fracture. And one of the arrowheads was Amechi, the then governor of Rivers State, who challenged Jonathan, even the president. And that new PDP went into coalition with a fragment of ABGA, of ACN, and CPC, and started to strategize. And as part of the strategy, there was a need to present a candidate that will be widely accepted, and that is what led to bringing Buhari on board with the toga Mr. Integrity. You see, because the arrow then shot at PDP was corruption. So APC needed a different narrative in terms, because politics is how you can have an inroad into the minds of electorates. Okay, we are tired of corruption. Oh, Mr. Integrity. And you recall at a time he was in the UK giving a speech, and APC did a beautiful job, I can let you know, because there was a time I approached the then Minister of Culture, Lai Mohammed, Chief, they are not even patronizing the public relations practitioners in Nigeria, and he said their plans are, so they engaged foreign PR experts to drive that process, and it came like a dream from the blue when PDP was dislodged from Aso Villa.
Okay, now we're talking about coalition, and you mentioned 2013. If you remember 2013, it was a merger. There was, like you said, there was one arrowhead. This time around, we have three strong personalities coming together. We all know that Peter Obi wants to be president, Atiku wants to be president, and El-Rufai wants to be president. So where is the rallying point with this coalition?
The rallying points,
and they have also agreed to remain in their various parties.
But Nigerian Constitution, neither the Electoral Act, has approved independent candidates. So they must be in parties, whether SDP or in PDP or in APC. But you know already in PDP, the Wike camp has dealt a huge blow on the candidacy of Atiku. You see, so, but Atiku, maybe as at yesterday or a week ago, is still a member of PDP. The problem now is which party is willing to collapse the existing structure for the big elephant to step in and say, I'm coming in to become president. And that would be a tight one.
In this coalition, who is going among the three? There are three, I would say three big elephants looking for the same thing. So how is it going to work?
I mean, they need to consult, and they've not consulted. But I can let you know that we can make reference to precedent. Atiku and Obi were together. It was this power game that led to Obi exiting to Labour Party. You see, even within Labour Party now, there are insinuations towards Obi that we may not even field you as our candidate. But that is not the discussion for today. El-Rufai also is interested in the presidency. He didn't get it at the primary level. And even the ministerial position he desired was denied because the Senate did not confirm his nomination.
Yeah.
So you can see them now, and some have advised El-Rufai that you're exiting APC, so start seeking for greener pasture. It's too early. In fact, in this formula, some are already approaching former president of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who is saying it's too early for him to even consider. And let me talk about politicians and the power game. Even APC at a time started shopping for Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan
Exactly.
of PDP to come and to step in after Buhari. So you see, when you talk of politicians, it's all about how they negotiate. But you made a very valid point. Now we have two elephants and a younger elephant. I'm
Who
using
is the
that,
younger one
yes.
now?
The El-Rufai factor is, the influence is may not be as what Atiku and Obi can throw around. You see, so we have three now. So how they are going to sit down to say, okay, even if we find a party where the existing members who also are ambitious are willing to say we step down for you, then who goes for president, who goes for vice presidency? If Obi now says, I will be vice president, he is going back to where he exited, the same position, the same arrangement that was on the table. You see, so I don't know if he wants to do that. And I don't see an Atiku, who was the vice president to Chief Olusegun Obasanjo as president, now saying he wants to contest as vice president. Except Atiku now says, I'm no longer interested in the presidency, but let me field someone to go in there and represent my political interests, which also is in doubt. Because like the present president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, said that it's been his life ambition. I suspect that becoming the president of Nigeria is likely to be the life ambition of Atiku. And that is why he's been coming back and coming back.
All right, now let's talk a little about the internal wrangling going on within the party. Just as you alluded to earlier, you said the parties are strong in themselves. Now let's talk about how strong the party PDP is. You're already aware that there was an internal wrangling during the period of the 2023 election, and the issue of zoning became an issue where Wike went out of the party. In fact, he worked against the party when the zoning went to the north as opposed to the south. Now, it has gone that way to the point where he decided to even form the G5. Among these G5, they all pledged support for the Asiwaju administration to support it to run smoothly. Now, how do you reconcile these aggrieved members who are already pledging support for the Asiwaju-led administration, considering the fact that they need to come back to rebuild this same party to make them strong and viable towards the 2027 election?
It's like trying to run on banana peels. I don't envy them, but let me say this. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as a political figure, is different from other politicians. His personality was considered. Unfortunately for him, Wike was coming out of a bitter experience, and he needed to show his influence, and he succeeded in galvanizing some governors to form the G5 to say, okay, we will not sacrifice our party at the state level, but at the national level, we will support the candidate of another party.
That's an anti-party
which
activity.
was done. You see, I wonder, and we have discussed this, what the constitution of PDP says. Because till date, no member of PDP, whether the board of trustees or national working council or whatever, have been able to sanction Wike.
He dared them.
He dared them.
He dared them.
I mean,
He dared the party.
so you keep wondering, what kind of a structure is this? But Benue State lost out. With this, what's the name of the former governor there? But the governor of Oyo State was able to hold his state. Wike held his state, and some other PDP states. But then it didn't play well for some at the National Assembly level.
And Abia.
So now that another election is forthcoming, and the circumstances towards 2023 election are different from the circumstances now. People are talking about hardship, about inflation, about this and that. It should be a difficulty. In fact, I don't envy Wike because I don't know where he is really. And with what is going on in Rivers State, there are two options. It's either PDP consolidates and say, this is our state, we are going to resolute and ignore Wike, let him do whatever he likes and things like that, or say, let's collapse Rivers into APC. We are watching, because Ganduje's ambition is probably to have a one-state, one-party nation.
No.
So, and this many suspect. So PDP as a party must be very careful. And like a wise man said, you either learn from your defeat or from your victory. So I don't know which side they are right now.
Don't also forget Samuel Ortom, who is also
yes,
the governor.
Benue State, the former governor of Benue State.
The former governor of Benue State pledged support for the Asiwaju-led administration.
Yeah,
and
but he lost at the state level.
What's on the street has it that even Sheyi Makinde, who is also part of the G5, is also eyeing the exalted seat of the presidency come 2027. So how strong, that's my question now, how strong is this party that Anyanwu claims to be at the state and also local government level?
You cannot underestimate the power of one of these three major political parties: APC, PDP, and Labour Party. They all have their internal crisis. We now have the NNPP of Kwankwaso that is making vibes, particularly in the northern part of the country. Now, SDP has become a beautiful bride that defectors are wooing. So, if they play their games right, the electorates are there waiting. But by and large, circumstances may dictate the direction of the next election, because electorates are becoming more aware. And I speak subject to the influence of monetization, the unbiased expectations from INEC and other factors. You see, so my counsel is that for those who are in office right now, let your performance, speak for you. We've come to that point in Nigeria when politics should not overrun governance. I mean, that is my personal desire. But for internal conflict, those we abide with all parties. I mean, I can let you know that even amongst groups of human beings, you always have your conflicts. But how smart you are in resolving those conflicts is a different thing. And I'll give you an example of Lagos State. I think we discussed it here also. The House of Assembly, that was a major crisis on the way, politically and otherwise. But you saw what happened. In the midst of the storm, the leader of the party, who fortunately is the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, invited all of them to Aso Villa. And they met, reconciled in court to stabilize that political structure for Lagos State. Interestingly, in Rivers State, there is no such influence. Perhaps Wike could have played that role, but you know his person. So, and I clearly stated it on the TV show that, I mean, we looked up to the opinion leaders, we call them opinion leaders in public relations, the elders in that region, to call these warring parties together and let them consider the interests of the people that they talk so much about. But that was absent until the state of emergency was proclaimed. That is now a hot debate. But the big question is that should the president have waited for a major crisis and anarchy from the way events were unfolding before that intervention? And now that he has brought that intervention, there is relative stability in Rivers State. Then further peace stakeholders will be brought in to invite all of them and ask them, what do you want to benefit from what is on ground or to lose out? Because the state of emergency now, even though many are claiming it went too far, has dislodged both the governor and the House of Assembly and the impeachment move and everything. And the only one who appears to be standing really may be Wike, because he is still part of the Federal Executive Council that will oversee the new government in Rivers State. But I hope that the people in that region will call themselves together and see how to restore peace, stability, and security to that region, because those are the three-fold mandate of the sole administrator and those he chooses to work with him.
Okay, we've seen a coalition of parties coming together, especially ahead of elections, and most times they come together not because they share the same ideology, but it's for one singular factor: to remove the person in power, to secure power. And they make promises to Nigerians: when we come, things are going to change. But rather, when they come to power, things remain the same or they get worse. Do you think that at this point, Nigerians should begin to think of having an independent candidate? That would change the narrative.
It's not about the thinking of Nigerians. It's about the constitution of Nigeria. What Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended says is that the National Assembly is empowered to make law for the peace, orderliness, and good governance in Nigeria. So even if we are going to have independent candidates, it will have to be passed into law. So the citizens cannot just wake up. And that is the trap. The laws. And who are those driving the laws in the land? They are politicians. So they will have to sit down and see how this new law will affect their ambitions.
It's always about them.
From your narrative, there are three levels in politics: the primary level, the secondary level, and the tertiary level. And the primary concern is self-interest in politics. That's the primary, which pushes for getting the power. When you now get the power, you move to the secondary and the tertiary. And I can let you know the citizens can only benefit from the tertiary, and that is when good governance is allowed. But what have we experienced in this country? Battles for the primary level, or we are the ones there and there. I mean, I mentioned it. As at March 2015, the total indebtedness of Nigeria was about 12.12 trillion naira. Today, it's about 140 trillion naira. I'm talking about promises to make life better. You can see the headline inflation and things like that. So we still have a long way to go, coalition or no coalition.
All right, so we're pressed for time. So I just want to ask you a two-in-one question so you can quickly address it before we wrap up the show. Some persons are of the opinion that these attempts to woo members back is an attempt amounting to futility, given the fact that Anyanwu is a stooge of Wike. And considering the part Wike played, yes, he was aggrieved, but he ruined the party's possibility of getting the party towards the election in 2023 by splitting the vote Atiku would have had. So at that point in time, there is no way party members who have gone astray will be able to come back. And my question to you is, how possible is it that Wike, who holds an appointment in the Asiwaju-led administration, can also work for the PDP come 2027? The question is, can you slave for two masters?
You know, I've addressed that issue. It should be a difficult thing rescuing PDP for Wike, because already I think he even gets more interest if you talk of the primary level from APC, even though he's not a declared member. Fine. And on the issue of winning members back, at a time when the former President Muhammadu Buhari was becoming unpopular within the party, he invited Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu towards 2019 election to go and reconcile. And the man humbly went about reconcile. So you can never rule out reconciliations. People will be aggrieved and people can throw away their grievances just to come together. Amos 3:3 says, can't you work together except they be agreed? I just told you the case of Lagos State. The Lagos State House of Assembly matter. It's not that the stakeholders were happy. Majority decided to remove the speaker. And the leader said no. Reverse that order. I mean, and it was done.
But time is our friend as usual. Thank you so much, Mr. Jide Ologo.
Thank God.
Practitioner, for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time. And of course, my co-anchor Charity, thank you so much for your contribution. Really appreciate it. That's the much we can share with you on the show this morning. Thank you so much for watching.